know that people will be hurt by that vote. And we worked very hard to try to get a budget deal that wouldn't include that provision.
DFL Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman emotional following the House's adjournment from a special session Monday. Hortman was the lone DFL lawmaker to cast a vote to cut Minnesota Care access for undocumented immigrants. It's a move she made with a heavy heart.
I did what leaders do. I stepped up and I got the job done for the people of Minnesota.
The bill was deeply unpopular with members of the DFL caucus. Members have repeatedly expressed frustration that the bill was part of a compromise, one that would ensure the necessary GOP votes to pass the rest of the state budget.
We are tremendously disappointed and gut-wrenched at this decision, at this compromise that compromises our communities that are most vulnerable.
Hortman knows she let down her own caucus members with the vote.
They're right to be mad at me. I think some of them are pretty angry. I think that their job was to make folks who voted for that bill feel like crap, and I think that they succeeded.
Over in the Senate, a similar situation unfolded. Senate Majority Leader Erin Murphy forced to vote for a bill she too disagreed with to uphold the integrity of their compromise.
This one hurt. This one is a wound because of its reason. My colleagues across the aisle set this as their number one priority.
Asked whether the move would drive a wedge between her and the rest of her caucus, her DFL colleague, Senator John Marty, quickly stepped to her defense.
As a member of the caucus, yes, sir, she clearly was fighting against it every step of the way. In the negotiations, if we wanted a budget, we had to agree to that. She agreed to.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all having a great and wonderful day. Well, this is a very unfortunate day, a very bad day, mostly due to the fact that there were 2 Democrats that were assassinated as of today. I'm trying to get all the information that I gathered for you that I can, but it's going to be a little bit rough, all right? So this might be a little bit longer video than usual just because there's so much information, but let's without further ado, let's get into it. So as you can see here, there was that was one of the Democratic housemakers that was assassinated. Her and her husband was assassinated by this one gunman, and then we have this here where Tim Walz is talking about the situation here. So without further ado, let's go into that and finish it up.
Has unfolded in Minnesota. My good friend and colleague, Speaker Melissa and her husband Mark, were shot and killed early this morning in what appears to be a politically motivated assassination. Our state lost a great leader, and I lost a dearest of friends. Speaker Hortman was someone who served the people of Minnesota with grace, compassion, humor, and a sense of service. She was a formidable public servant, a fixture and a giant in Minnesota. She woke up every day determined to make this state a better place. She is irreplaceable, and we've been missed by so many. Minnesota's thoughts and prayers are with her family, her loved ones, her children, and her parents. My prayers.
It's very complex and working on it. What I will tell you, when we did a search of the vehicle, there wasn't a manifesto that identified many lawmakers and other officials. We immediately made alerts to the state who took action on alerting them and providing security where necessary. And that's about, I'll stop there.
So there's a lot of information to go over, so I'll try my best to do this in the shortest time frame possible. So the list that we have here, that the suspected people were on the list. So the suspects list included Democratic politicians in Minnesota at the federal and state levels. Law enforcement sources familiar tell me. Goes on to say here that the list included U.S. Representative Omar and U.S. Senators Tina Smith. Governor Tim Walz was also on the list. In addition to Attorney General Keith Ellison, dozens of other Democrats from Minnesota were also included on the suspects list, sources said. And if we go here, we have this from Stephen Crowder pretty much saying, our hearts go out to all those affected in Minnesota, especially to the family and friends of Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband, Mark. CNN is now reporting that a hit list of nearly 70 targets was found in the suspect's car. But of the 70 targets, the only ones CNN describes are abortion providers. What about all the others? Why not name them as well? Yeah, exactly. There are other things that were happening here. that we have. So we're going to go to this here. So we have this from Colin Rugg saying Minnesota law enforcement announced that no King's flyers were found in the car of the suspect who unalived Minnesota State Representative Mr. Hortman. The No Kings protests are being held today across the country in protest of President Trump. Given the targeted shootings of state lawmakers overnight, we are asking the public to not attend in today's planned demonstrations across Minnesota, said the Minnesota State Patrol with a photo of flyers. The photo is of flyers inside the vehicle of the suspect in today's shootings.
Flyers that...
So these are the flyers that are here, right? These are the flyers that we have that it says No Kings. And we're going to go over what this woman has to say here, right?
Are there reasons to believe that these events were also targeted by the person in the manifesto in the car?
We don't have any direct links. However, there were some flyers that said No Kings within the suspect vehicle. And as we know, the planned events throughout the state of Minnesota today is a No Kings event.
And so the reference materials that were inside of the vehicle that we saw, we have no understanding that any of the No Kings events would be targeted, but we also find it of interest to the public that these would be in there, and we want to alert everybody until we do that. Because this is such an active investigation with information not knowing right now, we feel it's an obligation to all of you and the public across the state of Minnesota to alert you of it, and that's why the Colonel made the notation of recommending people don't go today. But the individuals are not in custody yet, and so we want to make sure as that very active manhunt is underway and continues, that we make sure that we're sharing that, and that's part of why we're making the recommendation. As to the investigation and the list, we are working through that now and talking to individuals, and we'll continue to. What I would say with the list is there's a large number of people. That's all I can say about it. We will work through all of that, what the motivations of this are, and we'll provide that as you can. This is really a public safety announcement for everybody so that we can make sure people are informed and make safe decisions throughout the day.
So we have that, right? So we have, it says no flyers. It's not looking too good here. We have this here that from Nick Sorter said, holy crap, Representative Mr. Hortman sounded absolutely terrified while speaking to the media after she voted no on health care for illegals. She was just assassinated this morning. She knew she'd end up as a target in one form or another.
I know that people will be hurt by that vote, and we worked very hard to try to get a budget deal that wouldn't include that provision.
She does look very terrified, or at least crying about it, but she does look very uneasy about this. So again, we have this here. Shortly before Minnesota Representative Melissa Hortman was shot and unalived, she broke down in tears in front of cameras after siding with Republicans. Hortman was the lone Democrat who voted to cut health care access for adult immigrants. I did what leaders do. I stepped up and I got the job done for the people of Minnesota. Hortman and her husband were unalived shortly after this video was taken in their home. Police believe it was politically motivated, which it was politically motivated at this point in time. So again, we have police searching for former appointee of Tim Walz in connection with fatal shootings in Minnesota, according to reports. Not going to show you that there. We have this here from Vivian Fry saying, hi, Governor Tim Walz, can you confirm that the man who allegedly just assassinated a Democratic politician, apparently because she voted against funding for illegal aliens, was an appointment of yours? Is this photo accurate? Did you appoint a man who turned out to be a terrorist assassin? This is from Vance Boiter. It says, because of the special trust and confidence I have in your integrity, judgment, and ability, I have appointed and commissioned you to have and to hold the office of this appointment carries with all rights, powers, duties, etc., etc. So this is what we have here. This is statement of Tim Walz, notice of appointment, Vance Boiter. So that isn't looking too good. And we have this here from Johnny Malaga saying, a guy who works with an organization to help all African immigrants improve their lives in Minnesota. Unalived a woman who was the deciding vote, and the only Democrat to side with the Republicans tend to end free healthcare for illegals. And it says this is Minnesota Reunited. MAU is a coalition, a statewide organization to help all African immigrants improve their lives in Minnesota. So that's what's been going on here. And then we have this here from Data Republican. Says Vance Boiter, the suspect in today's shootings, was a CEO of an international NGO called the Red Line Group. But I couldn't find any photographs or digital records of its work, only the generic website. The Red Line Group appears to have run out of funding a month or two ago, as that is when he started looking for executive level roles. So it says Dr. Vance Boiter, experienced CEO, Red Lion Group. You can see that here. You have this here as well. I'm currently in the Democratic Republic of Congo working on several projects. If I'm slow to respond, my apologies, as some cities have a better internet signal than others, and some are pretty limited. I will respond as soon as I can. Red Lion Group had a great meeting with the new governor of Congo, central to talk about our private business projects that are all moving forward in that province. Some of our team will be staying a little longer in Washington, D.C. in March when we are back in the U.S. to network again with our DRC ambassador about how our third trip to the DRC has gone, everything on schedule and within budget. Hope everyone sees us being seen well in all areas. So that's what we have here. He also has the Red Lion Group. And it says, hi, everyone. I'm looking to get back into the U.S. food industry, and I'm pretty open to positions. Other leadership positions outside of the food industry I'm willing to hear about as well. I've been doing projects in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Central Africa the last 3 years with Red Lion Group. So, yeah, that's what's going on here. It ain't looking too great here, right, guys? I mean, it all seems pretty bad, seems pretty awful. Again, this is, again, 2 minutes of lawmakers shot in a parent targeted incident. This is what's also going on here.
Right now, sources telling ABC News that 2 Minnesota state lawmakers have been shot in what law enforcement officials say was a targeted incident. Let's get right on the phone now with ABC News chief investigative reporter Josh Margolin. Josh, you've been following this all morning long. What do we know right now?
Gio, good morning. It's a very, very serious situation just north of Minneapolis in the Hennepin County suburbs, highly populated area. We have a former Speaker of the State House and a state senator, both Democrats. Not saying that party has anything to do with it at all at this point, but both are Democrats. Apparently, they were in their separate homes near each other, and allegedly they were shot by the same perpetrator. Perpetrator is now on the run. The injuries are serious, grave. It's a very serious situation. The governor is on site, as is the FBI.
And I know that you're learning that the FBI is now involved. We believe at this point that the shooter was impersonating law enforcement?
Yes, that is believed to be what happened. The shooter was definitely apparently wearing some sort of tactical gear and reported to be looking like impersonating law enforcement. That could ultimately not be the case when they finally get a hold of the shooter. But part of this is they wanted to alert the local population. This is somebody who needs to be considered very, very dangerous.
We're also learning here, Josh, that both of these lawmakers were shot at their homes. Is that right?
Yes, apparently both at their homes. Law enforcement was very, very quick to say these are targeted attacks. That is language that they use when they want the public to know there's not some sort of active shooter randomly shooting at people outside. But yes, they were targeted at their homes. And as you know, Gio, state lawmakers tend to be highly accessible. They're members of the community, members of the population, mothers at PTA meetings and parents who go to Little League games.
All right, Josh Margolin, our chief investigative reporter.
Yeah, so it's not good. Now, I have the actual video of the police department talking about this. I had to do a comprehensive search with all this type of stuff. So the reason why this video is so long is because I'm gathering all the information that I have currently right now. So obviously more information is going to come out. We're going to find out who really this person is. It seems like he is a far leftist. It does seem like he is the person in question that is doing all this. So it's really hard to refute that he's not. So we have that's been going on here. And without further ado, this is the last part of this. So here you go, guys, the police statement.
Mark Brewer, Brooklyn Park Police Department. The question is, how did we get to Representative Hortman's house, and it was proactively or not. The circumstances that unfolded in Brooklyn Park this morning is that we assisted the Champlin Police Department on a shooting. That shooting was made aware by one of our sergeants that it was at Senator Hoffman's home. In hearing that very intuitive sergeant asked our officers to go check on Melissa Hortman's home, representative that lives in our community, just proactively as due diligence to swing by. That police officer and his partner pulled down the street when they arrived at Melissa's house. They noticed that there was a police vehicle in the driveway with the lights, emergency lights on, and what appeared to be a police officer at the door coming out of the house. When our officers confronted him, the individual immediately fired upon the officers, who exchanged gunfire, and the suspect retreated back into the home.
Was this an actual police officer or impersonating police officer?
Yes, the question is, was it a real person or a person impersonating a police officer? It was not a real police officer. This is somebody that clearly had been impersonating a police officer, again, using the trust of this badge and this uniform to manipulate their way into the home.
So Chief Early, Janet Shortle, Pier 11, the person not only was wearing a badge, posing as a police officer, when they approached their victims, they had a car with lights and sirens?
Yes, the question is what kind of vehicle, how were they dressed? They did drive a vehicle that looked exactly like an SUV squad car. It was equipped with lights, emergency lights that looked exactly like a police vehicle. And yes, they were wearing a vest with taser, other equipment that would, a badge very similar to mine, that no question, if they were in this room, you would assume that they are a police officer.
Chief Related Officer at WCCO News, can you describe the moments after that played out? You said the person went into the home, and then can you help us understand the next 10, 15 minutes of how we got to the point we're at now?
Yeah, briefly, although I'm just going to remind us that this is an absolutely active investigation. We have thousands of people sheltered in place in the city of Brooklyn Park right now. We are in an extensive manhunt involving hundreds and hundreds of police officers and SWAT teams searching, gridding off areas as we believe confidently the suspect had fled out the back of the house after being confronted by the police. Very briefly, after the officers had exchanged gunfire and the suspect retreated into Melissa's home, they immediately went up to the threshold and looked in and seen a male that was down, clearly had been struck by gunfire. They made limited penetration, grabbed a hold of the male and drug him out to safety to attempt first aid. However, he was pronounced dead shortly after that. At that point, the officers surrounded the house, got additional resources and SWAT resources, and then ultimately went in with a drone identifying a female in the home.
I know you may not want to identify that person publicly, but have you privately identified the suspect?
We have people of interest that we are looking for.
Michelle Griffin, Minnesota Reporter. Other than that, these are two Democratic lawmakers. Is there anything else to suggest that this is politically motivated?
Again, I'm going to hold back most of the information. This is part of the investigation that we completed. This is rapidly evolving, just occurred a few hours ago, and we're trying to sort it out. We have partners from the FBI, the BCA, the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, and almost every suburban agency in our community helping us with this. So it's very complex and working on it. But I will tell you, when we did a search of the vehicle, there wasn't a manifesto that identified many lawmakers and other officials. We immediately made alerts to the state who took action on alerting them and providing security where necessary. And that's about, I'll stop there.
Chief, thank you very much. We're going to take one more question.
With the BCA, can I have you use the word targeted, and that's kind of along the lines of Michelle's question in terms of politics, Democrats, and Republicans. These are both Democratic lawmakers. You said the word targeted. So targeted because they're politicians, or targeted because they're Democrats?
Well, so the question is were they targeted, and when I use the term, why am I using the term? As Chief Bruley noted, there was a list of individuals, and the individuals that were targeted in this situation were on that list. And so when we're looking at that, as Chief Bruley said, it's far too early in the investigation to be able to provide information, but I do think we'll be in a position where we'll be able to develop the motivation behind these attacks, and we'll be able to provide more information as this unfolds. And so that's part of the reason we're using it, is I think there's some preliminary information that is telling us kind of where this is headed, but we need a lot more work done by all the teams that are here working on that to be able to provide that with you with a degree of accuracy.
Yeah, so what we have here is that this person was impersonating cops and a police car at that as well, and then he also went to assassinate two Democrats, severely wound two others. These two others seem to be in the hospital, and yeah, it's just not good. We have a huge problem with political strife in this country, and everything needs to stop. I mean, we had almost the Republican senator, congressman assassinated, or the justice courts. We had Trump almost assassinated twice, mind you. We had, and then we have these people here where these two Democrats were assassinated, and it's just not good. We need to calm down here, and if we don't calm down, things are going to make things significantly worse. All right, guys, that's it for video. Like, share. As always, take care, my friends.